In this video, we're going to put together some fundamental areas, so very basic areas. So this is a bit of a workaround. Ideally, you want a building to do this effectively because then you'll use each floor. But in this case, I'm just going to give you a quick introduction on how to do some rough calculations and set up a basic area schedule for your project. So I would call this a bit of a hack in this instance, but preferably you would want a building model to do this more effectively. Then you'll work on each level, but we'll get to that later on. But for now, this is just so that you can achieve this drawing, so we can start basically setting up all the calculations and setting up the correct areas. You can keep adding and removing to these areas, okay? But for we will then switch to a building project file rather than the site model. But I think just for tomorrow's exercise, I just want to show you very quickly how you could establish something like this just using your site model without a building model. Okay, so pretty straightforward in Revit. So basically, you'll need to create an area plan that will duplicate this, this plan that we're looking at now. Okay, so basically, you're going to go to Architecture. Now in Room and Area, in Area Volumes and Schedules, you need to get rid of these other schedules. These you can create at any time, and we're not going to cover this in much depth because it's something that it gets used very differently in different organizations. So I'm just going to stick with that for now. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on, I'm going to make a new area plan. So what it'll do is it'll make an area plan based on level 0. So I'm going to press OK. Yes. Okay. Ideally, you would see now you've got an area plan that is created. So I'm going to rename this. I'm going to rename this view. So rename. I'm going to call this. So basically, what Aubrey wants us, so it's a development. So we can call it this. I'm going to simply copy and paste this. Okay. So I can actually paste that information there. But in essence, if I rename this view, so it's going to be floor. Are you going to say, do you want to just say no? I'll explain why. So rename. Okay, good. Now you notice your view is quite polluted. So just set the scale correctly. It'll be scale 1 to 500 in this instance. Now I'm going to go and use the visibility graphics. I want to get rid of all this information in the view. So basically, I don't want the topography, so manage links, CAD. I don't want any of this information. So I don't want to see any of this information. Okay, so VG, imported categories, and I'm going to switch off site civil. Good. Okay, remember this will be project north. Okay. I'm going to hide the topo solid, so VG, in the model section. Just remember in categories, you can switch off all the other categories so you don't have unnecessary categories to manage. Okay, so here I'm going to go to topo solid. I'm going to switch that off. Great. Generic model, I'm going to switch off the 3D objects as well. Get rid of that. Okay. We'll use that for something else. Okay, now the last thing I need to do in annotations, I need to switch off my elevation markers. Trust me, you'll get to know this very well the more you do it. Okay, great. So I've just got an empty project. Now I can go back to site plan. Now remember, if you've used the filled region to establish this, I can use this copy function, go back to this development floor plan, and I can paste it in here. So paste, and I'm going to paste in the same place. Okay, so basically I'll need to go to architecture. And in areas, I want to start creating area boundaries. So I'm going to trace this object. So sometimes the pick line tool will work, sometimes it doesn't. So just be careful. So I'm just going to trace this shape very quickly. Okay, I'm creating some area boundary lines. And we're going to leave this as is for the time being, and I'm going to close. If I tab now, you'll see that I've got these area boundary lines. Okay, good. I can get rid of this red square for the time being. So I've selected everything. I'm going to use the filter tool, and I'm going to remove the detail items. So leave the area boundaries. I'm going to delete that. Okay, delete. So now if I press tab, you see I've got a closed area. Now I can go and click on area, and I can drop an area in here. Okay, good. So by default, you see it'll put a tag in for you. We will need to fix that, but that's fine for now. So if I click on the area itself, this cross inside of the area, you see it's area 1. I need to duplicate this 8 times. So I'm going to select everything as is. I'm going to press copy. I'm going to copy this down once. Now that I've got one in place, I'm going to use this one as a reference. So copy 2, 3. Okay, then I'm going to use this one. I'm going to copy in this direction. Make sure you don't select the reference plane. You can hide those as well. So you can go to VG, Annotation, click R so you can cycle down reference planes. I can hide that in here as well just so it doesn't annoy us. Select this information like this. I'm going to go, I can select everything and I can use copy. I'm going to copy this just like that. Now we can use annotation. We can use annotations to kind of set this view up very quickly. Okay, so as per the example, I would set it up just like this for the time being. Okay. And remember, it'll be like quite a, so I'm going to call this O1. You can copy this down. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but again, you can copy this information down and you can go and edit this information. Okay, O2. All right, so this is just an area study, but we're going to put a lot of information in here as well. Okay. All right, so with the area selected, you'll notice that it doesn't look like much and it's giving us some terrible information. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the tag itself, right click on the tag, I'm going to go and edit family. So I need to fix this family very quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do, let me just close that, my apologies, no, I had it open before, so let me just do that again, edit. So in here, so these are made up of a series of labels. Now these get complicated the way they work, and I'll explain this as quickly as I can, but we'll go into more depth later on. But if you follow what I'm doing, this should be quite easy to do. I'm going to get rid of that bottom one, and I'm going to go and edit this label, and you can see it's going to be area, and here when I click on this parameter, I'm going to make sure that it's in meters. Everything is correct. I'm going to press OK. So that's the first thing I need. Then in tag, I'm going to go and edit tag. I'm going to rename this tag to 2.5. I'm going to set this up to match my project parameters. So width factor 0.8. This will be 0.5. Everything, this will be Century Gothic, so you can just start typing Century Gothic. This will be 2.5 to match the text. I'm going to press apply, press OK, done. Now what I want to do is I want to see the meters. Now there's a trick. You can hold Alt 178. It'll add that square meter for you. Voila. Okay, it's a trick that I've learned over time. This top one, I'm also going to edit this. This one, I'm going to keep it as name or room name. We're going to put there level 1, or we can put a name inside. So I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm just going to edit the tag itself. I'm going to change this to bold. I'm going to rename. I'm going to call this 3.5. Okay, 3.5. And this I'm going to change to 0.5, 0.8. 3.5, and this I'm going to change to Century Gothic. Good. Press apply, press OK, press OK. Good. Now you can see this has changed. I'm going to load back into project and it'll override everything I'm seeing here. And this will look a lot better now. Okay. So you can see it's put the areas in. So what's interesting is I don't actually have to add that area because it's adding it in the family automatically. So I can go back into this. I can go back into this, edit label, and I can simply remove that. Okay, load into project and override existing parameters. Great. So now you can see this has put that area in, and each one of these you can call it O1. You can give it a name. So for this one, I'll just go level 1, level 2. So go and apply that very quickly. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to set up an area schedule so that I can manage this a lot better. So in schedules, new schedules and quantities, I'm going to go and find area. It's usually right at the top, area. So gross building, that's the only one that we have. Press OK. Now we need to see how this is set up. So basically what I like to do is I like to put the number first, then the name, then I'm going to put area. Okay, it gives me this. If you incorporate the wrong fields, just remember you can go back again and add the correct one. Okay, now I have a problem because I would like to, on my development plan, I would like to add some color to define these areas. So in color scheme, it will allow you to set up a new scheme. So you can rename the scheme. You're going to call this areas. Here I'm going to call this area legend. Now you'll see it will give it types, but we don't have enough information in the parameters to do that. So for now, I'm going to leave it on name. Yes. You see we've got some names already. If I press apply, you might see it will add different colors to this, so you can use the name to do this, but I'm going to create a new category called use. So what use? So it's going to be gross lettable area, it's going to be common areas, it'll be like service areas, storage. Okay, so I'm going to go and add a new category. So I'm going to go to manage, I'm going to go to project parameters, and I'm going to create a whole new project parameter. I'm going to call this use. Okay, so what data type is this? So it'll be text, because I'm going to use text to do this. Please, I am rushing through this a bit, but you'll learn a lot more about this later on when we get to more complex workflows. For now, so this is just a quick crash course on how to do this. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, project parameters, and I'm going to make sure that this represents as a project parameter, so identity data. Okay, so what kind of parameter, group parameter, will it fall under? So I'm going to say identity data. All I need to do now is assign it to a family type in the project, okay, or category. I'm going to go and say areas. I'm going to press OK, press OK. Now, you'll notice when I click on an area, all of a sudden I'm going to have a whole new section where I can start adding some information. Now, I'm going to go and open up my area schedule. It was open already. Now you can go into view and you can close inactive views, so it closes all the inactive views, and then I'm going to double click and open up areas. Now I can use the tile view, so now I can see these side by side. Close that family for now because it's already in our project, we don't have to do anything more. So now we can split these. Okay, so basically if I click on this one, you'll see, so I can say Control C, Control V, and change that to 2. Okay, so you can go and do this very quickly. Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. Now your numbers are very specific. They have to stay in that order. Numbers in Revit will always keep their order, so just be careful and leave it as is for now. Okay, so level 1. This one I'm going to change to level 3, and it should correspond with the level. So 3. Good. 4. 5. Now you see 5, it's working in the right order. Sometimes it doesn't order things correctly, so you might have to go and change that order later on. But for now, 7. Okay, and then 8. Good. Copy this, sorry, this, Control V8. Okay, now 8. Now you see that we won't have, so now we've got all these different names, and it's, the color code is working to the names. You can leave it like that, but I prefer to use the use because later on we can get a lot more detailed. So in fields, I'm going to add use now. That use I will put somewhere in the middle, so it'll be number, name, use, area, press OK. Now, for use, I'm going to make sure everything is GLA, gross lettable area. This will change later on. Now you can see I can go and select this all the time. Okay? And I'm going to show you a quick tool to make it calculate the totals as well. So now, once it's done that, so in formatting, so let's go to fields. I want the area field to calculate. So in formatting, so let's go to formatting. I want my area, I want this to calculate totals. I want to see the totals. Okay, I want to see the totals at the bottom. Okay, so fields, let's just go back there. So in formatting, so in area, calculate totals, that's all great. Now in appearance, I want to start adding some totals at the bottom. Okay, so we can start showing the totals on the sheet, press OK. I'll explain this in a minute, and I'm just going to call this area schedule for now, or we can call it development, but for now I want to keep this as area schedule. I want to leave it just like this. Okay, so I've got my development. Now in this view I need to change my areas scheme. I'm going to say actually you must use use rather, and now for each use we can assign a different color. So we can assign, usually make them quite light, because if they're quite dark they will read quite funny on the drawing. We keep this quite light, press apply, press OK. So now you can see these all have the same areas and they've got the same level information inside. Okay, fantastic. All right, so we're not going to see the totals yet. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to site development and I'm going to drag my area, my development floor plan into the view. Okay, remember, switch that to no line, move this down. Just remember, you'll need to go and add a bit more information, and then I'm going to grab the schedule. So my area schedule, I'm going to grab that and I'm going to put that on my sheet as well. Okay, great. So let's put this down here at the bottom for now. Good. I'm going to move this up, move that down, move that up. Okay, great. All right. So in a nutshell, we have the basic development data. This will keep changing because you're going to have to go and add in a lot more information here. Now, one last thing, I just need to make the schedule appear correctly on the sheet. Okay, so we're going to have a title, headers, bodies, that's fine. I just maybe want to show, so let's go filter sorting. Here I want to say grand totals and I want to show just totals, totals only, press OK. So our total area thus far is 4,700. So now that we've got that figure, we can start using this information in our calculations that we need to produce here. So those calculations are based off what we were given. Now I'm just going to show you how to set up one of these. This is something that you're going to have to do in your own time and set this up correctly. Okay, so how do we set up these little schedules? Now, these schedules, if you're going to use them on multiple sheets, you're going to have to use a certain type of workflow. However, you can use a drafting view, that'll be later on, where we're going to use it one by one. But for this instance, we might want to show the development data on more than one sheet. Okay, so how do we do that? So on my sheet, so you can see I've done this very roughly and I've managed to pull in some really vital information. This you can close now, we don't need that anymore. So this information I can put over here. You can make this neater, but for now I'm not going to go into too much depth because this can be quite a lengthy video alone just to make this look good. So let's just put our schedule down here, just like that. Okay, these are just some fundamentals that we're going to get into. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to the side. You can start incorporating some more detail, but for now we're doing this quite quickly. It's going to be in class, so this is all we're going to do for the time being. Okay, good. Now that we've got this established, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to legends. So you'll see that you can have legends already. So this legend I can already put on my sheet, scheduler rights. Okay, you'll learn how to use this information. You'll notice this won't fit, so we might have to make this fit. We would want to put this in here, so we'll need to tweak this a bit, but for now I'm going to put it over here because this will need to be fixed to fit on your sheet, and I want you to do that because it's a good exercise. No title. Remember, these we don't put titles. No title. Okay, I'll explain why. Put that there. So we're doing exactly the same thing. So if you open up scheduler rights, how we've created this, straightforward. Now, just remember the scale will sometimes depend on what you're trying to do, but in essence, I'm going to leave this one-to-one. And if you go to legend view and you right click, you can go to, so we're going to create a new legend view, just like this. Make it one-to-one, just like that. And I'm going to call this, so based off Aubrey's information, we're going to call the sanitary calculations, or we're going to give it some sort of term. So maybe development areas, we can use our legend already, but let's say fire safety calculations. So just like that, bang. Okay, fire safety, control V, fire safety calculations, just like that. Great. Now, fire safety calculations, I can put that same text in here. Oh, be careful of that. I'm going to use, so in these legend views, the only thing that you can do is draft. You'll see in architecture a lot of stuff will be grayed out, so the only thing you can do in here is draft. So you can put text in and you can put lines. So we're going to draw a series of lines to set up a schedule. So basically the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to use some text, control V. So let's do that again. There we go, fire safety. So I've put a lot of other text in here, so just be careful. Control A, nothing here. So here we go, fire safety calculations. What I do like about Revit, you can change stuff to small caps, or so that is very neat. It's got that function. Okay, so just remember that, fire safety calculations, I'm going to leave it just like that and get rid of this top line. Now remember, select the correct font, so it's either going to be 3.5 or 3.5. Now all that you do is, you're going to go to annotate. Now you're going to use the line weight. So remember this number associates the line weight. So here I'm going to use a series of lines and I'm going to create a series of columns quickly. So let's just show you to do this very quickly. So detail line, or an annotate line, create a line. Now with this line selected, I can use the array tool and I can array these. So I'm going to array these down and I'm going to go to last. I'll explain why. I'm going to go down here very quickly. I'm going to change this to 10. So I want to create 10 lines. Just remember this will make it a group. So if you select all instances in view and you go ungroup, they become lines again. Okay, so that's quite neat. Detail line. So here I can start adding in some. Okay, so I can start adding in some information here. Now if I click this end line, you'll notice that it's intelligent. It will start linking. Now this is another tool that you can use. I'm going to use some dimensions very quickly to control this. So dimension, so annotate, in dimension, so annotate. You're going to go and find align dimensions. I'm going to align this very quickly. And just remember, pick any dimension style, but you're not going to see this. And I'm going to quickly dimension these very quickly. I'm going to delete these dimensions. You can keep them there for the time being, but for now, just remember, you don't want these visible, but I'm going to use them because if I click on this line, I can control this very quickly. If I click on this end line, I can use these dimensions to work this out very quickly. So maybe that one needs to be 8. Okay. Maybe the rest of these, so I can say, so if I get rid of this again and I go DI, these all need to be the same size, for example, equal. You can see if I change one, they all change, so you can do that. So that's quite neat. Okay. All right, but in essence, I'm just creating a quick document and I'm using text to put in some values. So this will be area. This will be 2.5 or 2. Okay, and you can merge this information up. Remember, these are always locked. If you delete the dimension, it keeps this constraint. If you right click, then you can get rid of it. Okay, so you can go and click on this and you can remove these constraints. Okay, so that's actually quite handy that you can break these constraints later on. Okay, so you can see constraints and you can go and remove these constraints. Delete. Okay, select it, delete. Now there's no more constraint. I just deleted it, by the way. Good, so that, and by always, Revit gives you dimensions to work with. So get a good dimension, put that in the middle. Then you're going to copy this information to there. But now I can quickly see what the dimension was. So I can go here, 6. Then I can carry on editing stuff. Now if I go to schedules and rights or my sheet now, because this is a legend view, I can put it on multiple. So I can go here and guess what? Because my note's at the top, I can get rid of that and I can say no title. Okay, so no title. Okay. Now on any of my other sheets that I've got in place, if I went here, I can grab the same information. Okay, I can grab the same information in my schedules and I can put it over here as well. Okay, so that's why you use legends. Just remember, if you use the drafting view, so if you went to view and you created a drafting view, which this is, so the starting view, just remember, familiarize yourself with this. This is your starting view in essence. Okay.